in this situation where he has looked for assistance outside Makkah Mukarramah against the Quraysh, this will put him into a very difficult situation. But unfortunately, this was not the case. They did not even honor and respect this one wish of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rather, the community which was around them, they instigated them and they rallied them to harm Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and to pelt Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam with stones. So much so that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was covered from, was bleeding through his body, and his blessed blood fell on the lands of Taif. Sayyidina Zayd ibn Haritha radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, who was accompanying Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at that moment in time, tried to protect Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He put his own life on the line, he put his body in the way, so much so that he also got very severely hurt and got a gash in his skull and his head as well. But this continued, and they pursued Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam so much so that until Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam reached a garden and an orchard outside Taif. This garden and this orchard belonged to the two sons of Rabi'a, Utbah and Shaybah. Now these two were staunch enemies of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, along with their father. Utbah ibn Rabi'a and Shaybah ibn Rabi'a. But looking at this sorrow state of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even they felt a little bit pity and felt sorry for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the crowd followed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam until Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and Zayd radiyallahu ta'ala anhu reached this orchard. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took sanctuary in this orchard, they thought that, okay, let us now return. So they returned back. Utbah and Shaybah happened to be in that orchard at that precise moment in time, and they saw Zayd, and he was trying to help Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam just took shade under one of the tree and took a rest. He had suffered greatly, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam just slumped down under that tree. Utbah and Shaybah was looking at this. So they had a slave by the name of Addas. So they told Addas that go and approach this person and help him, give him some water to drink, take some dates for him. So Addas came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and brought some dates and some water to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam took a few dates, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said Bismillah. And after praying Bismillah, he ate a few dates. When Addas heard this, he said to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam that, Wallahi, inna hadha al-kalam ma yaquluhu ahlu hadhihi al-bilad. What is it that you have just said? This is not something which we hear in these types of lands. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam questioned him that, وَمِنْ أَهْلِ أَيِّ الْبِلَادِ أَنْتَ Ya Addas, Addas, which lands do you come from? وَمَا دِينُكَ, and what is your religion? So he said that أَنَا Nasrani وَأَنَا رَجُلٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ نِينَوَى, that I am from the lands of Nineveh, and I am a Christian. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he heard this, he said to him that min qaryati ar-rajul as-salih, Yunus ibn Matta. You come from Nineveh. Nineveh is in northern Iraq, near Mosul. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked him, and he said that you come from Nineveh, from the city of the righteous individual Yunus ibn Matta, Sayyidina Yunus alayhi salatu wassalam, the great prophet. He was from this city. So when he heard this question, so he says, وَمَا يُدْرِيكَ يُونُسُ ibn Matta? He says, what do you know about Yunus ibn Matta? How do you know him? How have you heard of him? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says, ذَاكَ أَخِي كَانَ نَبِيًّا. He says, he is my brother. He was a Nabi. وَأَنَا نَبِيٌّ. And I am also a Nabi. Addas was just to hear these words when immediately he fell into the lap of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he started kissing the hands and the forehead of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then Addas then went back to his masters. So whilst Shayba and Utbah, they were looking at all of this. So they said to one another, and they said, look at what's happening over there. فَقَدْ أَفْسَدَهُ عَلَيْكَ. He says, he's got him into his spell as well now. And he's also corrupted him. He's corrupted our slave. So when Addas returned, they questioned Addas, and they said to Addas, وَيْلَكَ مَا لَكَ تُقَبِّلُ رَأْسَ هَذَا الرَّجُلِ. What's wrong with you, Addas? Are you feeling okay? Why did you end up kissing this person and falling into his lap? So he says, Ya Sayyidi, ma fil ardi shay'un khayrun min hadha. He says, my master, by Allah, there is nothing on this world which is better than him. He is the greatest person. لَقَدْ أَخْبَرَنِي بِأَمْرٍ مَا يَعْلَمُهُ إِلَّا نَبِيٌّ. He's informed me of something which nobody could know except a Nabi. So they then again rebuked him and said, وَيْحَكْ يَا عَدَّاسِ لَا يَصْرِفَنَّكَ عَنْ دِينِكَ. Make sure he doesn't turn you away from your deen and your religion. فَإِنَّ دِينَكَ خَيْرٌ مِّن دِينِكَ. Because your deen is far more better than his. But he had already testified the shahada in the company of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This was the kashish and the attraction which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam had. Just a few words. Practical Islam, Bismillah. As soon as he practiced upon his religion, this raised questions. He says, what is this that you're doing? We've never seen this before. So now it was a time for ta'aleem, a time for educating them. If we feel shy and don't practice upon our religion in a place where we feel that we're going to stand out, then nobody will know of our religion. Nobody will come to know that this is also a teaching. This is how you're supposed to do it. If you no, what will people say? When people will say, they'll question. If they want to learn, if they're inquisitive, if they have that desire and that talab within them, when they see us doing something different, they will inquire and they'll question us. That what is it that you're doing? This is an opportunity for us then to give da'wah and to invite them and to give that little bit of word and tell them that, look, this is what we're doing, this is what Islam is, this is what we are taught, and this is the way we practice. This is the true da'wah, because a person cannot go around calling every single person, but if a person does something and lots of people see him do something which is different, then automatically this is now calling people towards what he is doing. So this was what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam did, and he accepted it. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't feel inferior and didn't feel that, look, I've already suffered, I've already faced a difficult situation because of my da'wah. Already I have been, abused and hurt and physically hit. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, no, this is my deen, these are my practices. I cannot let go of my practices and my deen. And even at that moment, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam practiced upon his religion and recited the Bismillah and carried out whatever he had to carry out. And not only this, but when after a few years, when the Battle of Badr took place, Then Utbah and Shaybah, both were now leaving towards the battlefield against Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So whilst they were leaving, Addas came to them and he says, "Where are you going? Don't go, because you are going to your own destruction. You are going to somewhere where you are not going to return from. So please don't go." But they didn't listen and they cried. And then when they went away, then somebody came past the Addas and he saw him crying and he had questioned him. I said, "Why are you crying, Addas? What is wrong?" And he says that they have gone against a person who is not going to be defeated. He is a Nabi, and with him is a help and the nusrah and the victory of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is why I am crying, because my masters are now going towards their death and their destruction. After this, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at this moment in time, he turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, turning to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from the bottom of his heart, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam called out to Allah. Now, a Nabi is mustajab. A Nabi's du'as are accepted. But coupled with this was the humility, humbleness of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The fact that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was musafir. The fact that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was a mazloom. And all of these things then individually are enough for a dua to be accepted. When all these are found, and with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam himself, he was mustajab, then there was no shak and no doubt in the dua being accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he, after taking refuge in the orchard, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam turned to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he made dua to Allah, and he says, "Allahumma ilayka ashku da'fa quwwati wa qillata hilati wa hawani ala an-nas ya arhamar rahimin anta rabbul mustada'afin wa anta rabbi ila man takilni ila ba'idin yatajahamuni am ila aduwin mallaktahu amri in lam yakun bika alayka ghadabun fala ubali ولكن عافيتك هي أوسع لي أعوذ بنور وجهك الذي أشرقت له الظلمات وصلح عليه أمر الدنيا والآخرة من أن تنزل بي غضبك أو يحل علي سخطك لك العتبى حتى ترضى ولا حول ولا قوة إلا بك." When a person looks at these, the wording of this dua, Allahumma ilayka ashku du'fa quwwati, Wallah, to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has just gone for da'wah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has just exerted every single effort. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has unfortunately faced what he had to face. But despite this, look at the wording of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam when he turns to Allah. What did he say? Allahumma wallah ilayka ashku du'fa quwwati wa qillata hilati wa hawani ala nas. Wallah, to you I complain my weakness. Wallah, to you I complain of lack of resources. Wallah, to you I complain of not holding that status in the eyes of the people. Wallah, I couldn't fulfill the right of what I had to do. I couldn't do what I was supposed to do. Wallah, the deficiency is within me. Ya Arhamar Rahimin, O most merciful. Anta Rabbul Musta'afin. Wallah, you are the Lord of all those who are weak and oppressed. Wa anta Rabbi, and Allah, you are also my Lord. Ila man takilni, who have you handed my affairs over to? Ila ba'idin yatajahamuni, am ila aduwin mallaktahu amri. Have you given me to somebody who is an enemy to me and who will laugh in my face and will face me with in a way which is not friendly? Or have you given me to an enemy who has full control over me? Wallah, the reality is that in lam yakun bika alayya ghadabun fala ubali. Wallah, you have put me through this situation, but if you are not angry with me, then I am happy. I'm not bothered, Ya Allah. Even if you put me through this, and the difficulties I have faced, if you are happy with this, then I am happy, Ya Allah. If you are happy with this, then I am happy. Although I ask for your afiyah, وَلَكِنْ عَافِيَتُكَ هِيَ أَوْسَعُ لِي. So look at the Rasulullah, he's going through a difficulty, but he says, if Allah has put me through this, then I have nothing to complain about. I have nothing to worry about. I am only mentioning this to Allah. I have nobody else to speak to. أعوذ بنور وجهك الذي أشرقت له الظلمات وصلح عليه أمر الدنيا والآخرة. I seek the protection of your light, which has gone away with all the darkness, and upon which the affairs of this world and the hereafter depend upon. I seek the refuge of this light from the fact that you min an tunzila bi ghadabak aw yahill alayhi sakhatuk, from that you become angry with me. That's all I don't want. I don't want you to be angry with me. Anything else, I don't mind. Anything else. If you're happy with me, I don't care what situation you put me in. But don't be displeased. Muhabbat mein barabar ho, jafa ho ke wafa ho. Har dil mein lazzat hai agar, dil mein maza ho. If a person has true love for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then it doesn't matter which situation a person is put in. Muhabbat mein barabar ho, wafa ho ke jafa ho. Whether the person is happy with you, whether the person is displeased with you, whether it is he puts you in this situation or that situation. If a person has love, then a person is willing to accept this. The person is willing to accept this. This is what Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said. And he said, لَكَ الْعُتْبَى حَتَّى تَرْضَى وَلَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ إِلَّا بِهِ. Allah, full control is yours. Full control. No power, no might except yours. لَا حَوْلَ وَلَا قُوَّةَ. Only you can change the situation I am in. Nobody else can change the situation I am in. You have full control over my situation. And Allah, I ask you for your assistance. I ask you for your help. This dua was made, and the angels were sent to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he gained consciousness and he came back, he saw that Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam is there. And with Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam is another angel. He was the angel of the mountains, Malukul Jibal. Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam introduced this angel to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Sayyidina Jibreel alayhi salatu wassalam said, Inna Allah qad sami'a qawla qawmika lak. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has heard how your people responded to you. وَمَا رَدُّوا عَلَيْكَ وَقَدْ بَعَثَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكَ مَلَكَ الْجِبَالِ لِتَأْمُرَهُ بِمَا شِئْتَ فِيهِمْ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent this angel, and this angel is at your command. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that this angel then addressed me and he فَسَلَّمَ عَلَيَّ, he said salam to me. And then he says, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And then he says that ذَلِكَ فِي مَا شِئْتَ إِن شِئْتَ أَنْ أُطْبِكَ عَلَيْهِمْ الْأَخْبَشَيْنِ. He says that, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, whatever you wish, I will do. If you wish that I bring upon your people the two mountains, then I will do so. And Al-Akhbashayn refers to the mountains of Makkah Mukarramah. The mountain of Abu Qubais and the mountain of Ahmar, which is opposite Abu Qubais. So he says, if you want, Ya Rasulullah, then these two mountains, I will bring them together upon the people. Now these two mountains are in Makkah Mukarramah. So the ulama have raised the question here that why are these two mountains referred to? It is generally understood as the mountains around Taif, and the people of Taif will be crushed under the mountains. But in the riwayat, it is not the mountains of Taif, rather it is the mountains of Makkah. So some ulama have taken this opinion that these mountains will be taken to Taif and then the people will be crushed under these. But Hazrat Mufti Muhammad Taqi Uthmani Sahib Damal Barakatuhum, he mentioned that no, it is referring to the mountains of Makkah which will be brought upon the people of Makkah. Why? Because they were the initial people who rejected Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This difficult situation which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam found himself in was because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't get that support from Makkah. So he had to leave Makkah Mukarramah and go to Taif. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told that it was because of the people of Makkah that you have faced this situation. If you want, then and you command, then I will bring these two mountains upon the people of Makkah. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave that reply. He says, "Bal arju an yukhrij Allah min aslabihim man ya'budu Allah wahdahu la sharika lahu." That I have hope in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That no, if they don't believe me, then somebody will believe me from them, from their progeny, from their people. And they will worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And la yushriku bihi shay'a, they will not ascribe any partners with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam now rested for a while at this particular place. After resting here, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam continued his journey towards Makkah Mukarramah. Now Makkah Mukarramah wasn't just around the corner from Taif, it is at a distance from Taif. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then came to a place called Nakhla. When Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to a place called Nakhla, he sallallahu alaihi wasallam took a rest there for a while as well. Whilst Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam at night was standing in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and performing salah. Even on his journey and at night, despite what he has suffered and what he has been through. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is camped at night at a place called Nakhla, and during the dead of the night in the wilderness, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is engaged in talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is why Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam says that qurratu aini fi salah, that the coolness of my eyes is in salah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there engaged in salah. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was there engaged, and now the tilawah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam out in the wilderness, echoing away, and in the dark of the night, serene night. It so happened that at that moment there were 7 jinn from a place called Nasibiyin. And these jinn happened to pass by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they started to listen to this tilawah and this recitation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now what we need to understand also, that you mentioned the riwayat, that when the wahya and the revelation commenced to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, at that moment Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closed the doors of the skies and the heavens for the jinn. Prior to the nubuwwah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the jinn, they'd be able to go up into the skies and they'll listen to the conversations of the angels, and they'll hear that such an event is taking place, such is going to happen, because the angels would be given tasks, so they'll talk to one another. And the jinn would hear this, then they'll come down and they'll tell their friends from the humankind, the sorcerers, the fortune tellers, etc. So when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala decided that now the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's nubuwwah is here, so Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam now didn't, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala now didn't allow the jinn to go into the skies and the heavens. So gods were put there as angels, were put there as gods that would protect the heavens from the jinn. And now the jinn thought, something's happened. Why are we not allowed to go there? Something's going to take place. So they decided amongst themselves that let us spread out through the lands and let us see what extraordinary event is going to take place. Because something is going to happen. So they went in their own ways. So there was this group of Nasibiyin jinn which had this area of the Arabian Peninsula, and they started going around in these lands. That is something happening, is something happening, is something happening. They then happened to pass by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on this particular night. So they stood there for a while, and they heard this recitation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And when they heard this recitation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they came to this conclusion that this was why we were prevented to go up. This person is a Nabi, and this person is getting revelation from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to protect that wahi and that revelation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala closed for us the way towards the skies. So they then went out back to their people, and they then told their people that, look, a Nabi is here and we need to bring Iman upon this Nabi. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam didn't know anything about this. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was just engaged in his tilawah and engaged in his salat. After this incident, after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam finished his salat, etc., then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentioned to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and informed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam of this incident taking place. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, وَإِذْ صَرَفْنَا إِلَيْكَ نَفَرًا مِنَ الْجِنِّ يَسْتَمِعُونَ الْقُرْآنَ فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوهُ قَالُوا أَنصِتُوا فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ. That, remember, that we diverted a group of jinn towards you so that they can listen carefully to the Qur'an. فَلَمَّا حَضَرُوهُ, when they came to him, meaning Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, then they said, shh, quiet, ansitu, quiet. And they listened to the recitation of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. فَلَمَّا قُضِيَ, when this recitation was complete and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam finished his salat, then وَلَّوْا إِلَىٰ قَوْمِهِمْ مُنذِرِينَ, they returned back to their people, warning them of the message of the Qur'an and of the hereafter and of belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and belief in Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. قالوا يا قومنا إنا سمعنا كتابا أنزل من بعد موسى مصدقا لما بين يديه يهدي إلى الحق وإلى طريق مستقيم. They went to their people and they said that, O people, we have heard a book which has been revealed after the book of Musa alayhi salatu wassalam, and which testifies to those books which were revealed before it. Meaning it's got the same message which was revealed in the previous scriptures regarding belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, etc. Yahdi ila al-haq, it guides towards the truth. Wa ila tariq mustaqim, and towards the right path. And not only this, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed another entire surah as well in regards to the message which these jinn then gave to their people. They says, قُلْ أُوحِيَ إِلَيَّ أَنَّهُ اسْتَمَعَ نَفَرٌ مِّنَ الْجِنِّ قالوا إنا سمعنا قرآنا عجبا يهدي إلى الرشد فآمنا به ولن نشرك بربنا أحدا وأنه تعالى جد ربنا ما اتخذ صاحبة ولا ولدا وأنه كان يقول سفيهنا على الله شططا. The entire conversation which they had with their people, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala narrates this in Surah Al-Jinn. In the beginning of the first two rukus, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions, in the first ruku rather, the first two sides, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions the entire conversation which they had with their people, what they said, how they gave da'wah to their people. And obviously the Huffaz find this surah quite difficult, isn't that right, Abdurrahman? وَأَنَّهُ تَعَالَى جَدُّ رَبِّنَا وَأَنَّهُ كَانَ يَكُونُ سَفِيهُنَا وَأَنَّهُ وَأَنَّا لَا نَدْرِي وَأَنَّا لَمَّا سَمِعْنَا الْهُدَى وَأَنَّا كَانَ يَقُولُ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this conversation which they had with their people, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions this. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then came to his Sahaba after to Makkah Mukarramah, and he narrated this entire incident to them as well. And that, look, this is what happened, and these jinn came to me and they listened to the Quran and they accepted, and they went back to their people and they warned them as well, and they also accepted Islam. And then not only this, but after a short while they then came back to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to learn the Masail of Deen as well. Once Sayyidina Ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala anhu was asked by his student Alqama that was any of you present with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam on Laylatul Jinn? So Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiyallahu ta'ala said no. So he said, we were with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam one night. We performed salat, and then after that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was nowhere to be seen. We thought, what's happened? And so Laylatul Jinn took place a number of times in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sometimes he was alone, and once this was with this incident when Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was with him. So he says that I stood up. We got worried. We were looking at where is Rasulullah. So I stood up, and he said I went out with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to look for him. So he says I went and I found traces where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was headed towards. So it was outside Makkah Mukarramah, outside in the wilderness. So when I was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam told me, and he made me sit down, and he put a ring around me. And said, Ibn Mas'ud, don't leave from here. Stay here. Make sure you don't move from here. She says, okay. She says, something will happen, whatever happens, you just stay here. She says, okay. And thereafter Rasulullah carried on. So he says, I saw Rasulullah just disappear away in front of me. He said, I sat there, and then all of a sudden, these people came towards me, and they were covered fully black, scary, and it was like making all these weird noises, and it's like, what's going on? And he says, I've never seen anything like this before. And he said, I felt like leaving, and I remembered Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying that don't leave Ibn Mas'ud, so I stayed there. And thereafter, these individuals carried on in the direction of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then strange sounds started coming from there as well. So again, I got worried regarding Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So I thought, let me go. But then I thought, no, Rasulullah said, don't go, so I remained behind. And thereafter Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, after a long time, a long portion of the night had passed, thereafter Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam returned, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam asked me that, Ibn Mas'ud, did you see anything? Did anything happen? He said, Rasulullah, a lot of things happened. So he says, those were jinn. Those were jinn that came to me so that they could learn the masail of deen. They could learn the masail of deen. And books have actually been written where in certain riwayat, certain masail were actually they asked as well, and what questions they asked, what answers Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gave to them. So nevertheless, this incident took place where they then after came to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, learned the deen and took and practiced the deen. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam remained there at Nakhla, and thereafter Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made his way towards Makkah Mukarramah. Sayyidina Zayd radiyallahu ta'ala anhu questioned Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, says, Ya Rasulullah, you're going back to Makkah? In this state? You won't survive, Ya Rasulullah. They know, word must have somehow got there now. They know where you went, what happened, what transpired. How are we going to face them? Where are we going to go? What shall we do? So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said to Sayyidina Zayd radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, that no, inshallah, which is hope from Allah, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will open up a door for us. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam sent a message to Makkah Mukarramah to Akhnas ibn Sharik, who was a leader of Quraysh, one of the prominent individuals of Quraysh. And he sent a message to Akhnas saying that, Akhnas, if you can grant me protection, and under your protection I can enter Makkah Mukarramah. Akhnas said, sorry, I can't do this. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent another message, and this message was sent to Suhail ibn Amr, where Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said the same thing to him. Suhail again said the same thing, that, sorry, I can't do this. And the reasons they gave, mentioned in Riwayah, but these reasons, you understand that in reality they weren't actual excuses. They just didn't really find that what if we give him protection, what will happen to us. So it was just as an excuse to make, not to help Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. They weren't genuine reasons. Although they said that, we've got connection with this tribe, so we can't help this tribe against you, and etc. But the reality was not that. They were just making excuses. So then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then sent a third message to Mut'im ibn Adi. And Mut'im ibn Adi, as mentioned previously when we spoke regarding the boycott, that he, and all these individuals, they were genuine individuals. But Mut'im was one who was very, very genuine and who had a very soft spot as well. He had good morals, ethics. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam sent him a message. He then called his children. And he told his children, and he said, look children, get your swords. Get ready. So all of his children got their swords on, got ready. And he himself got his sword, got ready, and he says, come, let's go to Haram. So they came to Haram. And then standing in front of the Kaaba, he made an announcement. And he said that, look, I have given protection to Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Therefore, nobody is able to harm him. Nobody is able to do anything to him. And then he sent a message to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he says that, don't, Ya Rasulullah, he says, Ya Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he says, you come to Makkah Mukarramah, nothing to worry about. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam came straight to the Haram. He came to the Hajar al-Aswad. He kissed the Hajar al-Aswad. Thereafter he performed 2 rak'ats. And after 2 rak'ats, he started making his way towards his house. And Mut'im accompanied Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam to his house, and his sons made a barrier around Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they escorted him in this manner towards his house. And Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam then got protection in his home and took rest within his home. But these were the difficult circumstances which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam went through. This was known as Aam al-Huzn, the year of grief. His wife has gone, his uncle has gone, and he got this response from the only last place where he thought he could get help from and assistance from. And then now Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is without his uncle. So now the persecution of the people of Makkah was obviously to increase and intensify. But as they say that every cloud has a silver lining. So this was the final part now to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam's difficulties. And then this dua which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam made in just outside Taif was to be was accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and it was now to be manifested in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So inshallah we shall continue next week, inshallah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allow us to study the life of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, understand the sacrifices which he gave for me and you, and adopt his sunnats, adopt his way, and continue his mission and the da'wah, and try to be true ambassadors to Islam. Wa akhir da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen, sallallahu ta'ala khayr khalqi Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka Allahumma wa atubu ilayk.